People have always asked how the impossible megaliths at Baalbek were built. Now we have an answer. For centuries, the 1,000-ton stones of Lebanon's ancient mystery were dismissed as a Roman project. But a shocking new discovery just blew that theory out of the water. An AI analysis has uncovered what archaeologists missed. The builders used lost technology, understood astronomical alignments that predate them by thousands of years, and possessed an engineering skill that baffles modern experts. What the AI found is worse than we imagined, when the computer said no. For decades, if you asked a mainstream archaeologist about Baalbek, they'd give you the standard answer: it's Roman. Magnificent, yes, but Roman. Built around 15 BCE, the Temple of Jupiter was a grand statement of Roman power, and those giant stones underneath? Just a foundation. A bit big, sure, but nothing thousands of workers and a lot of time couldn't handle. This was the firm view. They believed there was no megalithic architecture, nothing with really big stones before 6,000 years ago. Period. That story held together for a century, but now, that story has completely fallen apart. A research group, fed up with the gaps in the official narrative, fed every piece of data they could find into an advanced pattern recognition AI. We're talking high-resolution laser scans of the stones, geological surveys of the quarry, microscopic analysis of the tool marks, and astronomical charts stretching back 10,000 years. They asked the AI a simple question: what are we missing? The answer that came back has sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. It's a genuine head-scratcher. The AI concluded that the builders of the Baalbek Foundation were not the Romans. Not only that, but the technology they used was, to put it mildly, impossible for any ancient culture we know of. The AI's first discovery was about the quarrying. By analyzing microscopic grooves on the stone surfaces, it found patterns that don't match bronze or iron chisels. The AI concluded the builders used a highly sophisticated water-based cutting method. Think of a primitive water jet, using channels, bronze saws, and abrasive slurries like sand or corundum to slice through limestone with incredible precision. This method, while slow, would create the impossibly smooth surfaces we see. More than that, the AI calculated this technique would reduce the required workforce by a staggering 40%. Then, it analyzed the transportation. The AI ran thousands of simulations. It found that dragging 1.6 million pounds, even on rollers, would create friction hotspots that would shatter the wooden rollers. The most likely scenario it found was a combination of techniques: specially arranged rollers that distributed weight more effectively, and a path from the quarry that was slightly longer but minimized elevation changes. But here's the kicker: the AI detected subtle geometric patterns in the stone placement. These patterns align the entire complex with the summer solstice sunrise. That's not the shocking part. The thing nobody tells you is which summer solstice. The AI accounted for axial precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis, and found the alignment was perfect, not for the Roman era, but for a sky thousands of years earlier. This new discovery is what has archaeologists panicking. It suggests the site was planned and built by a civilization that understood physics, geology, and astronomy on a level we've only just recently achieved. The Romans didn't build Baalbek, they just found it and built on top. The question is, who did build it? But the alignments were just the beginning of the AI's terrifying discovery, a puzzle of 1.6 million pounds. To understand why this AI discovery is so devastating to the official story, you have to understand the scale of the problem. You see, when we say big stones, people think of Stonehenge. The largest stones at Stonehenge weigh about 40 tons. They're impressive, but Baalbek is in a different league entirely. It makes Stonehenge look like garden ornaments. We're standing in the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon. The Romans called this place Heliopolis, the city of the sun. But what lies beneath their temple is what baffles modern engineers. The foundation platform contains a set of 3 stones known as the trilithon. These are 3 single blocks of limestone. Each one is about 64 feet long, 14 feet high, and 12 feet thick. Each stone weighs an estimated 800 tons. That is 1.6 million pounds per stone. Let's put that in perspective. The largest stones used in the Great Pyramid of Giza weigh about 80 tons. The trilithon stones are 10 times heavier. A modern M1 Abrams tank weighs about 68 tons. You would need to stack 12 tanks to equal the weight of one of these blocks. A Boeing 747 jumbo jet, fully loaded, weighs about 400 tons. These builders were moving the equivalent of 2 jumbo jets carved from a single piece of rock. And they didn't just move one, they moved 3. The engineering challenges are staggering, and modern engineers are the first to admit they are baffled. First, there's the quarrying. How do you cut an 800-ton block from solid limestone using what we assume were Bronze Age tools? The precision is insane. These stones have smooth surfaces and perfect 90-degree angles. Second, the transportation. The quarry is about 1/3 of a mile away from the temple site. That might not sound like much, but try to imagine moving 3 million pounds across that distance. Modern cranes, the biggest ones on Earth, can lift maybe 200 tons safely. The absolute largest mobile cranes max out around 1,200 tons, and that's under perfect, flat, reinforced concrete conditions. The terrain between the quarry and the temple is not flat. It has variations. It goes uphill. The sheer friction involved would be astronomical. Third, the placement. This is where it gets truly wild. These stones aren't just sitting on the ground, they are lifted approximately 20 feet into the air to form a retaining wall, and they are positioned with such accuracy that you cannot slip a piece of paper or even a razor blade between them. This is precision comparable to modern machining, but on a scale that is unimaginable. One engineer calculated that to position these stones, you'd need to control their final movement to within fractions of an inch. But it gets worse. What many overlooked is what's still in the quarry. Nearby lies a stone called the Hajar al-Hibla, or the stone of the pregnant woman. It is a single fully cut block, larger than any of the trilithon. It weighs an estimated 1,000 tons. That's 2 million pounds. For decades, this was considered the largest movable block in the world, until 2014. That year, a German archaeological team did a survey right next to it, and they found another one, a stone partially buried that is even bigger. Its weight is estimated at 1,650 tons. That's 3.3 million pounds. This isn't a "how did they do it" mystery. This is a "this shouldn't be possible" mystery. Modern machinery, with all our hydraulics and computers, would struggle to move this stone. Yet, some ancient, unknown civilization quarried it, likely with the intent to move it. This is the puzzle that has haunted researchers for generations. How? And the old explanations are starting to sound more and more desperate. The theories that don't add up. For generations, the answer to the how was simple: Romans. And if not Romans, then brute force. The mainstream archaeological position has always been that a massive number of workers, perhaps tens of thousands, using wooden rollers, sledges, ropes, and pure muscle power, moved these stones over many, many years. It's the same explanation given for the pyramids, but the math just doesn't work. Not for Baalbek. The number of workers required to pull an 800-ton stone, even on rollers, would be astronomical. You'd need a perfectly flat, paved road, which we haven't found. The ropes would need to be thicker than a man's body and would likely snap. The wooden rollers would be crushed to pulp under 1.6 million pounds. And then there's the Roman theory itself. The thing nobody tells you is that the Romans were brilliant builders, but they were also brilliant record keepers. They wrote everything down. They were incredibly proud of their engineering achievements. Yet, in the entire library of Roman texts, not one single document mentions the quarrying, moving, or lifting of the trilithon stones. It's a baffling omission. Why wouldn't they brag about their greatest engineering feat? What many overlooked is that the Roman style is completely different. The Romans built on top of the megalithic platform. Their work, the columns and smaller blocks, looks tiny and fragile, sitting on the giant foundation. The foundation stones don't match Roman engineering anywhere else in their entire empire. This lack of a good answer has, of course, opened the door to wild speculation. Local legends, for starters, tell a very different story. Some traditions claim that Baalbek, which was a holy site long before the Romans, was built by biblical giants, the Nephilim. Others whisper that King Solomon himself ordered supernatural beings, or jinn, to construct the platform using magic. Then you have the fringe theories. Some researchers have proposed that the stones aren't stones at all. but some form of ancient concrete poured in place. This would solve the transportation problem, but geological analysis has debunked this. These are, without a doubt, cut limestone blocks. Others have suggested more exotic solutions. Acoustic levitation, the idea that ancient builders understood sound frequencies and could use them to make objects weightless. Or even electromagnetic theories, pointing to an anti-gravity technology left by a lost civilization. And yes, we have to mention the ancient alien theorists. For them, Baalbek is Exhibit A. They argue that the site is a spaceport platform and that only beings with advanced technology could have possibly built such a structure. The problem is, all of these theories, from brute force to aliens, have one thing in common: zero proof. They are just stories made up to fill an impossible gap in our history. Until now. The AI analysis didn't point to aliens or magic. It pointed to something far more tangible, a lost human technology that is brilliant, sophisticated, and hiding in plain sight. The AI found the builders left an instruction manual written in the stone itself. How the ancients knew geology. The AI's most shocking revelations came from the quarry. You see, it reanalyzed the unfinished stones, the 1,000-ton stone of the pregnant woman and the 1,650-ton behemoth. And it concluded they weren't failures. They weren't abandoned because they were too big. They were demonstration projects. They were left unfinished intentionally as a way to train new workers, showing the exact stages of the quarrying process. When the AI analyzed the cutting marks, it confirmed its initial hypothesis. This was not a brute force chisel operation. The builders were using water. The AI found evidence of channels cut into the quarry floor designed to manage a flow of water. The process was likely this. First, workers would use bronze saws, not to cut the rock, but to score a deep channel. Then, they would pack this channel with an abrasive slurry, maybe crushed quartz or sand. Finally, they would drag a tougher, flat-edged tool or even a log back and forth, letting the water and the abrasive do the actual cutting. It would be slow, but it would be incredibly precise and would create those signature smooth surfaces. But the AI found another, even more brilliant trick. It detected unusual channels and depressions in the quarry floor that seemed to be part of a water management system. The AI proposed that the quarry was periodically and intentionally flooded. Why? The builders were using the weather. They would cut deep, narrow trenches into the bedrock along the stone's intended line, fill them with water, and then wait for winter. They were using freeze-thaw cycles. When the water froze in the trenches, it would expand, exerting millions of pounds of force, cracking the stone along the predetermined lines. This technique, using hydraulic principles and seasonal temperature changes, would do the heavy lifting for them, separating the massive blocks from the bedrock with stunning precision. This changes everything. It means the builders weren't just strong, they were clever. They understood physics and geology. And that geological knowledge is the next piece of the puzzle. One of the biggest mysteries of the Trilithon is how the foundation supports all that weight. The AI analysis, when combined with ground-penetrating radar, revealed something incredible. The bedrock under the Trilithon has variations in its load-bearing capacity. There are weaker spots and stronger spots. Somehow, the ancient builders knew this. They specifically positioned the 800-ton stones to avoid the weaker areas and rest on the most stable parts of the bedrock. The AI calculated that if the stones had been placed just 5 feet to the left, the foundation would have become unstable within a few centuries. How did they know? The AI suggests they used a form of primitive geophysical survey, possibly by pouring water on the ground and observing penetration rates, or even by thumping the ground and listening to the sound reflections. Finally, the AI analyzed the joints. They aren't just tight, they are engineered. The stones have subtle curves and indentations that lock them together. When weight is applied from the top, like from the Roman temple, the stones don't just sit there, they press more tightly against each other, creating a self-stabilizing system. This is a level of engineering that we associate with the modern era. This wasn't brute force. This was a forgotten science, history's staggering secret. So what does this all mean? What does the AI's shocking analysis of Baalbek really mean for you, for me, and for every single thing we've been taught about our own past? This is the part that is worse than we thought. It's not just worse for a few dusty academics, it's worse for the history books. It's worse for the neat, simple timeline of human progress that we've been fed since we were in grade school. You know the story. It's the one that makes us feel safe, smart, and superior. The official story says we were primitive hunter-gatherers. We were grunting in caves, living in small tribes, chasing mammoths with sharp sticks, and just trying to survive the day. Then, one day, we discovered farming. We planted some seeds, built small towns, and suddenly, civilization was born. From there, the story goes, we built bigger cities, we invented writing, we had kings, and then finally we became advanced. It's a clean upward line, a ladder of progress. Every generation a little smarter, a little better than the last. It's a comforting story. It's a story that puts us at the very top, the pinnacle of human achievement. Baalbek, as decoded by this AI, doesn't just poke holes in that timeline. It takes a sledgehammer to it. It tears that entire timeline to shreds and throws it into the fire. The evidence processed by the unbiased mind of an advanced artificial intelligence points to something that official history says is impossible. It points to a civilization that existed thousands of years before the Romans ever set foot in Lebanon. A civilization that possessed a deep, complex, and profound knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, geology, and physics. They weren't just stacking big rocks, they understood axial precession. Think about that. That's the 26,000-year wobble of the Earth's axis, a complex astronomical cycle that mainstream science insists was only discovered by the ancient Greeks, and even then, not fully understood until the modern era. This AI analysis suggests the builders of Baalbek knew it. They encoded it into the very alignment of their platform. They understood advanced hydraulic engineering. They understood stress dissipation and subsurface geology. They weren't just building on flat, stable ground. They were building a platform designed to last for eternity, to withstand the ravages of time, to survive seismic events that would turn our own modern cities to dust. The way they cut, moved, and placed the trilithon, 3 1,000-ton blocks of solid stone, isn't just a story of brute force. It's a display of physics and logistical knowledge that we can barely replicate today. We would need fleets of our largest mobile cranes and computers to even attempt such a feat. They did it with a precision that is, in some places, measured in millimeters. This is not a lost civilization in the romantic sense, with philosophers in robes. This is a lost technical civilization, a culture that had achieved a peak of engineering knowledge that was then, somehow, completely and totally lost. It wasn't matched again until perhaps the Renaissance, or even the Industrial Revolution, and in some ways, in the art of megalithic construction, it still hasn't been matched. This is the nightmare for conventional archaeologists. This is the truth that sends a cold shiver down the spine of the entire academic establishment. Why? Because their entire framework, their careers, their life's work is built on that simple linear timeline. This discovery suggests that human history is not a straight lineup. It might be a series of peaks and valleys, bursts of extraordinary, unbelievable achievement, followed by catastrophic dark ages where that knowledge was forgotten, where humanity was thrown back to zero. That's a terrifying thought. It means we, right now, might not be the pinnacle. We might just be another peak, blissfully unaware that a valley is coming. The AI's analysis proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the builders of Baalbek were far more capable than history has ever credited them. And it proves one more devastating fact. The Romans were not the master builders of this site. They were just the last tenants. They were squatters. They arrived in Lebanon, marched their armies to this valley, and found this impossible ancient platform already standing there. A platform built by giants of engineering, a foundation that dwarfed anything they could ever hope to build. And what did they do? They did what any lesser civilization would do. They built their pretty comparatively small and crude temple right on top of it. They put their name on it. They claimed the glory for themselves. And for 2,000 years, the world believed them. The AI has given us the blueprint. It has shown us the impossible level of science they used. The real mystery, the one that should keep us all awake at night, is who they were and where they went. Who were these masters of stone and stars? What catastrophe could be so complete that it not only wiped them out, but erased their incredible knowledge from the memory of humanity. And the most chilling question of all, if it happened to them, could it happen to us? The stones of Baalbek prove our ancestors were not primitive. They were brilliant. What other technologies have we forgotten? Let us know your theories below. And for more secrets hidden in history, hit subscribe and ring the bell.